They call it 3I/Atlas. Nobody knew it could do this.
Dr. Madison Cole was staring at the screen in disbelief. Every reading screamed, impossible.
The object was moving against all natural laws, pulsing with energy that should not exist. Meanwhile, engineer Tyler Hayes noticed a signal embedded in its trajectory, a pattern too precise to be random. Something was responding. Something was learning. It was not a comet, not an asteroid, and it was closer than anyone realized. NASA had never faced anything like this, and the truth was terrifying. Before we start, hit like and tell us where you're watching from, and your support helps us explore NASA's biggest mysteries.
NASA has just released data that no one was ready for. 3I/Atlas, the object that first appeared harmless, is far more dangerous than anyone imagined. Dr. Madison Cole was the first to notice it. Sitting alone in the mission control room, she stared at the screen, her hands shaking. The readings were impossible. Every calculation, every orbital path, every measurement defied the rules of physics. And yet, the numbers were real. Meanwhile, Tyler Hayes, a young systems engineer, tapped furiously on his console. He had noticed something others had missed, a pattern buried in the motion of 3I/Atlas. It was deliberate, precise, intelligent. At first, scientists assumed it was just a comet, a simple icy visitor drifting through the solar system. This trajectory seemed hyperbolic, normal, nothing to worry about. But the more data they collected, the more the story unraveled. 3I/Atlas began emitting pulses of energy, absorbing solar radiation in ways that no natural object should be able to. Thermal readings fluctuated unpredictably, and for the first time, the object appeared to respond to signals sent from Earth decades ago. Scientists were stunned. The idea that a space object could interact with human technology was beyond comprehension. Across the world, observatories reported strange anomalies. Telescopes in Arizona, Chile, and the Canary Islands all saw the same thing. Subtle shifts in light, bursts of infrared radiation, tiny changes in speed that no natural force could explain. Dr. Cole convened a rapid conference call with colleagues in Houston and Pasadena. This is not a comet. This is not an asteroid. This is something else entirely, she said, her voice steady but tense. Tyler's fingers hovered over the keyboard. The data suggested it was learning, adapting, changing its path in response to the environment and possibly to Earth itself. No one wanted to admit it, but the evidence was overwhelming. 3I/Atlas was behaving like a living machine, and every new reading suggested it had been observing humanity far longer than anyone realized. NASA's models failed to predict its movements, and yet every calculation proved it was heading closer, not away. Social media had started buzzing with speculation, but this was not speculation. This was real. As night fell over the Johnson Space Center, Madison and Tyler reviewed the latest telemetry. The object's pulses were faster now, more intense, almost like a heartbeat. Every scientist knew that if the data was correct, 3I/Atlas was approaching a critical point in its trajectory. Something unprecedented was about to happen. And when it did, the entire world would have to look up and face what humanity had never seen before. By dawn, the Johnson Space Center was buzzing with urgency. Scientists were no longer debating. They were racing against time. Dr. Madison Cole called an emergency briefing. "We underestimated it," she said, her tone sharp but controlled. 3I/Atlas is not following predictable physics. Its energy output is off the charts, and it is adjusting its trajectory toward Earth with a precision no natural object could achieve. The room fell silent. Engineers and astrophysicists exchanged looks of disbelief. Every screen showed the same pattern. Small shifts, imperceptible at first, but growing in magnitude. Tyler Hayes leaned closer to his monitor, tracing the pulses. Each one seemed almost like a signal, deliberate and structured. "It's responding," he muttered under his breath. "It's aware of us." Meanwhile, observatories across the globe had picked up anomalies in the object's radiation signature. From Chile to Hawaii, astronomers were seeing bursts of light at intervals that mirrored old communications signals sent from Earth decades ago. Dr. Cole ran simulations trying to reconcile the impossible. If this is intentional, then we are looking at something beyond comprehension. Something designed to adapt, to learn, she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. The magnitude of the discovery was sinking in. NASA had never dealt with an object that seemed conscious, deliberate, and possibly intelligent. Tyler ran a series of calculations to test whether these pulses could be random. Every test failed. There was no natural explanation. Patterns emerged, geometric, mathematical, and aligned with known human signaling techniques. Someone in the room whispered, "It's as if it is reading us." Madison's stomach tightened. The implications were staggering. Humanity had never encountered anything like this. Not an asteroid, not a comet, not even a rogue satellite. 3I/Atlas was an entirely new category of object, and it was alive in its own way. By noon, the news had leaked. Social media exploded with speculation. Headlines ranged from alien probe to NASA warns of unknown object. The public didn't understand the nuance, but scientists did. And they were terrified. Dr. Cole and her team doubled down on observation, pushing every telescope, every probe, and every sensor they could access. Tyler ran night-long simulations, cross-referencing decades of data to predict what the object might do next. Every scenario painted the same picture. It was approaching a critical zone, and every second mattered. As the sun set, the team noticed a new anomaly. The object had altered its trajectory slightly, and the change was unmistakable. The readings suggested intelligence and ability to anticipate. Dr. Cole stared at the screen, heart pounding. It knows we are watching. It knows what we are sending. And it is adjusting, she said, voice tight. Tyler nodded grimly. The first clear message had been decoded. Not words, not signals humans could understand, but a structure, a rhythm, a pattern that confirmed it was deliberate. 3I/Atlas was not just approaching Earth. It was aware of humanity, and what it wanted no one could yet imagine. By the next morning, the world was watching in stunned silence. Dr. Madison Cole and Tyler Hayes had barely slept. Every hour brought new readings, each more alarming than the last. 3I/Atlas was no longer just moving through space. It was accelerating subtly, almost imperceptibly, yet enough to defy every predictive model. Engineers in Houston recalculated dozens of times, only to find their numbers failing again and again. Tyler leaned back in his chair, eyes wide, tracing the trajectory with his finger on the map projected across the wall. "It is doing something," he said slowly. "Something it should not be capable of. It is calculating, anticipating, responding." The gravity of the situation was sinking in deeper than ever. Across the globe, observatories reported bursts of energy unlike anything recorded in human history. Infrared pulses, electromagnetic fluctuations, and changes in luminosity all pointed to one conclusion. The object was actively interacting with its environment. Scientists had begun referring to 3I/Atlas in hushed tones as aware. The implications were terrifying. It wasn't merely a rock or an interstellar visitor. It was something designed, something capable of understanding cause and effect on a cosmic scale. Dr. Cole ran simulations late into the night, comparing decades of old satellite signals with the new data. Patterns emerged. Every pulse, every shift, every energy fluctuation carried a rhythm, a logic, a structure. Someone whispered, "It is learning from us." Meanwhile, public interest exploded. News networks speculated endlessly. Social media lit up with theories ranging from secret NASA experiments to alien intelligence. But for Dr. Cole and her team, speculation was irrelevant. This was science at the edge where every variable mattered. Tyler cross-referenced old Pioneer and Voyager transmissions with 3I/Atlas's trajectory, and the results were impossible. It wasn't just responding to Earth, it was reacting with precision. It was as if it understood the intentions behind every signal humans had sent decades ago. By midday, anomalies grew more pronounced. The object's path bent subtly closer to the inner solar system, drawing energy from the sun in a way no natural object could. Thermal spikes appeared along its surface, bursts of radiation that defied all models. Madison's voice trembled slightly as she briefed the international team. Every calculation suggests it is not random. It is deliberate. Every movement is intentional. We are observing an object that is operating with awareness. It is not just coming toward Earth. It is studying us. Tyler's fingers hovered over the console, ready to run the next predictive model. They had no idea what would happen next, only that the stakes were higher than ever. As night fell again over Houston, a final observation pushed them into disbelief. The object's emissions aligned almost perfectly with human communication codes, creating a repeating sequence. Scientists had never seen anything like it. Every sensor confirmed the same terrifying reality. 3I/Atlas was adapting, responding, and learning. And the more they observed, the clearer it became. Whatever it was no ordinary cosmic visitor. It was something entirely new, something aware, something potentially dangerous. The following day, tension in mission control was unbearable. Every eye was glued to the screens. Dr. Madison Cole had spent the night analyzing the latest telemetry, running every possible simulation, and still 3I/Atlas defied every prediction. Tyler Hayes paced the room, reviewing the data logs over and over. It is not only moving intelligently, he said quietly. It is responding to human observation. Every action we take, it adapts. The room went silent. Scientists exchanged glances that no words could express. Humanity was witnessing something unprecedented. Not an object from space, but a phenomenon with intent. From observatories worldwide, reports came in that seemed almost synchronized. The object's energy pulses increased in frequency, forming patterns in multiple wavelengths simultaneously. Infrared, ultraviolet, even radio emissions all aligned in ways that resembled structured communication. Dr. Cole traced the signals, comparing them to the oldest probes sent from Earth. The alignment was impossible. Every calculation suggested awareness, anticipation, and perhaps intelligence. Tyler tapped his console nervously, eyes widening as he said, "It's responding to us, to our history, to our signals. It is learning from what we have sent into space for decades." The realization hit hard. This was no longer theoretical. 3I/Atlas was interacting with humanity. By afternoon, the object's trajectory had shifted subtly, closer to the inner solar system than any model predicted. Thermal spikes intensified, and bursts of energy created faint but measurable disruptions in satellites' telemetry. International space agencies began collaborating in emergency sessions, trying to determine what the object could do next. The phrase "beyond comprehension" was used repeatedly, but even that did not convey the true scale of the anomaly. Madison reviewed the simulations again. Every predictive model failed to capture its behavior. It wasn't just moving, it was calculating, adjusting, reacting. Meanwhile, social media erupted. Theories ranged from a rogue alien probe to a cosmic intelligence sent intentionally to observe Earth. Public fascination and fear swelled simultaneously. News anchors speculated endlessly, but for Madison, Tyler, and the scientists, speculation had no place in the room. They had evidence. Precise, undeniable, terrifying evidence. Tyler leaned over a monitor, pointing to a series of electromagnetic pulses. "See this? This is not random. It matches patterns humans used in early space communication. It is deliberate. It knows what we did." As night approached, the object's signals intensified further. A repeating sequence emerged, one that could no longer be ignored. Madison felt a chill run through her spine. For the first time, the team realized that 3I/Atlas was not just a cosmic anomaly. It was aware, reactive, and possibly capable of decisions. Humanity was facing a phenomenon unlike anything ever documented. And the closer it came, the more urgent it became to understand its purpose. Every observation confirmed the same terrifying truth. The object was aware, it was intelligent, and it was approaching fast. There was no precedent. There was no safety net. Only the data, the pulses, and the unsettling awareness that something entirely unknown was learning about us. By the early hours of the next day, mission control was tense beyond measure. Dr. Madison Cole and Tyler Hayes had been monitoring 3I/Atlas without pause. Every sensor, every telescope, every probe had been activated. The object's trajectory was no longer theoretical. It had crossed a critical threshold, moving faster, closer, more unpredictable than ever recorded. Madison rubbed her eyes, exhausted, as the latest data scrolled across her screen. Each pulse, each flare of energy, each slight shift in motion screamed the same impossible truth. 3I/Atlas was fully aware of humanity's presence, and it was responding deliberately. Tyler traced the electromagnetic patterns with meticulous care. It's calculating us. Every move we make, every adjustment we implement, it reacts, he whispered. The room went silent, the hum of machinery the only sound. Around the world, observatories reported the same phenomenon. The object's emissions had intensified in multiple wavelengths, creating a symphony of energy signals that defied all known physics. Infrared, ultraviolet, and radio pulses intertwined in precise, repeating sequences. Madison compared them to decades-old space transmissions, and the results were chilling. The patterns matched, almost as if 3I/Atlas was reading humanity's messages and responding. The data suggested learning, adaptation, possibly strategy. Engineers and scientists could barely keep up. Every calculation, every model failed to predict the next move. It was as if the object anticipated human observation. International agencies convened emergency briefings. Satellite communications were being monitored, planetary defense teams activated protocols. The public was aware but largely in the dark, unaware of the scale. Social media had exploded with speculation, ranging from alien contact to a rogue interstellar probe. Scientists ignored the noise. Madison focused on the raw numbers. She traced the pulses and shifts meticulously, watching as the object adjusted its path ever so slightly. Every movement carried intelligence. Every radiation burst suggested calculation. The thought that this object might have been observing humanity for decades was no longer science fiction. It was terrifyingly plausible. As daylight broke over Houston, the object entered a zone where its energy emissions could be tracked in unprecedented detail. Tyler monitored the thermal spikes and radiation flux in real time. It's like a heartbeat, he said, pointing to the screen. Every pulse is intentional. Every flare is deliberate. It's aware. It's learning. It's responding to us. Madison felt a chill. This was the moment where human understanding collided with the unknown. For the first time, the full magnitude of 3I/Atlas became undeniable. It was not a comet, not an asteroid, not a rogue celestial body. It was an entirely new class of object, one capable of interacting with human civilization itself. By evening, the repeating sequences in its emissions reached a critical threshold. Scientists began decoding them, tentative at first, then with growing confidence. The patterns suggested more than observation. They suggested communication, understanding, and perhaps intent. The implications were staggering. Humanity had encountered something unprecedented. Something alive in its own way, intelligent, deliberate, and fast approaching. Madison, Tyler, and the team watched in awe and fear. 3I/Atlas was no longer a distant anomaly. It was present, aware, and interacting with the species that had first sent signals into the cosmos. And whatever happened next would change humanity's understanding of its place in the universe forever.